Succulents, like this beautiful jade plant as well as the donkey's tail, are beautiful sun-loving plants, and trust me when I say I've killed a number of them over the years just trying to figure out how to care for them. I know there's plenty of people out there that still struggle with these plants even though they're tagged as easy to care for plants or low maintenance, but sometimes they can be a little bit difficult to figure out. Plus there's some misconceptions out there that I want to talk about in this video. So let's check it out. The first thing I'm going to talk about, and this is pretty much the secret right here, and that is light. If you cannot provide it with an unobstructed south or west facing window, then you're pretty much setting yourself up for failure. Succulents need at least 6 hours of bright light throughout the day. Now, not all succulents need direct sunlight, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but definitely do not put these in like a north facing window if you're in the northern hemisphere, or like on a table, kitchen table or counter or anything like that. These need the brightest spot that you have in your home, and if you don't have good natural light, then you can always supplement it with a grow light. Both of these plants are in my south-facing window, and right now it is the end of April, so we're well into spring, so the intensity of the sunlight is increasing, the length of the day is increasing as well, and when I use a phone app light meter, you can see it's well into the 2,000 foot candle. So it's going to vary at different times of the day. So if you have a digital light meter or one on your phone, just make sure that you check the quality of light at different times throughout the day as the sun kind of streaks across the sky. So just making sure that your plant is getting sufficient light for at least 6 hours. Now I have my grow lights on a timer for about 12 hours, so I'm going to show you what type of foot candles this plant is getting right here. So this is my large older jade, and we had kind of a bit of a catastrophe the other day. I'll insert a photo, but there will be a video coming out soon, or hopefully at some point. I did have to make a cut here, a fairly hard prune, as this branch was completely flopped over. But anyways, for the light, these are the Sansi gooseneck grow lights, and when you have it close to the leaves, you can see it's getting 4,500 foot candles of light. So the closer the light is to the leaves, the higher the foot candles that the plant is receiving. This one is around, yeah, same thing, 4,000 foot candles. So if you have that bright area in your home, or even if you don't, you can get yourself a grow light, and then these plants are going to be a piece of cake. That's the number one issue that people struggle with, is making sure that these plants get enough light. Now with that being said, I can break it down a little bit more. There are certain varieties like this donkey's tail as well as the jade plant that love direct sunlight, but obviously you have to slowly acclimate it to those conditions, because even if you throw a jade plant in direct sunlight, then you run the risk of getting leaf burn or leaf scorch as well. Now there's other varieties like the string of pearls that they can tolerate maybe brief periods of direct light in the morning, but if you have it in bright light or like directly in a south-facing window for the majority of the day, it's probably going to get pretty crispy. So that one in particular I know doesn't like as much light as these two varieties, so I just had it on my plant shelf just off to the side on a west-facing wall, so it would get some east morning sunlight, and it absolutely loved it. So just like with any houseplant, do your research and try and figure out the exact light source that this plant requires, and then just use your light meter to determine kind of which area or location is best for these plants. You can see there's a little bit of a color difference between the leaves at the top to the ones down below here. These ones are a little bit more silvery, and these ones are green. Now the reason for this is there's a natural sunscreen called Farina or Farina. It's a protective element or quality for the plant during high light or like long light periods. It prevents sunburn, so it's a natural wax. And so you have to be careful when handling these, because first of all, if you are quite rough with this plant, it'll knock off some leaves, but I'll talk about in a minute here. But as you can see, when you rub the leaf, that powdery substance comes off the leaf and it leaves it exposed to the sunlight. So try not, well, you know, whatever. For the purpose of this video, I just did it, but that is a natural sunscreen for the plant, and it also has like hydrophobic qualities as well, so it helps with rot and stuff when there's water on the leaves. But I thought that was a pretty cool feature of this plant. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is watering, and this is one of those misconceptions that I hear often, specifically about the jade plant, is that they don't like a lot of water. Now this isn't true. They like to be thoroughly watered, they need a good soaking, but they don't like to stay in wet soil for any length of time, so they like to dry out fast. Now this one, I know it's dry just by looking at the soil and also by feeling the weight of the pot. Sometimes you'll see the leaves getting a little bit wrinkly. It's probably too dry, or you've let it get dry for too long. Now these plants, they like I said, a good thorough watering, but the frequency of watering is going to be less. So you might water maybe once every 2 weeks in the summer and once a month in the winter, obviously depending on the light and that sort of thing. So it's definitely different watering than say like your normal or regular tropical plant. Now for a jade plant, the way I tell whether it needs to be watered or not is by the leaves. If they have, well, as well as the soil. This one was watered a couple days ago, so you can see it's still a little bit damp. But the way I determine whether a jade plant needs to be watered or not is you should not be able to bend or fold a jade leaf. They're plump and full of water. So if you can fold a leaf, if it's pliable, then it needs to be watered. This one, it's pretty firm, so it definitely does not need to be watered. Now with these ones, they might feel a little bit soft or wrinkly, but primarily I tell by the soil. So this one, it's bone dry. You can see it's got some gaps along the edges. So the way I water this plant, it's just in a little hanging pot. I put it in a tray like this, and I try and water the soil like that. And I will keep watering it until it comes out the bottom of the pot. This one has a little saucer at the bottom. But I'm just going to go around and absolutely soak this plant. So you can see it's coming out the bottom there. But I can already feel the weight of the pot is significantly more than it was when it's dry. And I won't water it again until the soil is absolutely bone dry again. So that's pretty much how I water it. Now I can keep giving it water. This doesn't mean that it's overwatered. It's when it stays wet and soggy in the soil for too long and those roots don't receive any like airflow or oxygen, and that's when you run into those root rot situations. But this is a thoroughly watered succulent, and now it can go back in its bright sunny location. Now the next thing I'm going to talk about is soil, and it's probably the last absolutely crucial thing. So light, watering, and soil are the most important things for the survival of succulents. So with this one right here, I still have it in the original soil from the plant store. Any sort of commercial cactus or succulent mix is fine for these plants. It doesn't have to be anything fancy or expensive. As long as it is a cactus or a succulent specific soil, then it has the ingredients or amendments like sand, perlite in the soil, which is meant for a well-draining mixture. As you saw when I watered it, it basically just flowed right out the bottom quickly, and that's exactly what you want. You want a well-draining, airy mixture. So a regular potting soil or tropical plant mix, those are more peat moss based, and they tend to hold on moisture. They tend to hold on moisture for longer. So do not put it in a regular potting soil or a tropical soil. Make sure it is a cactus or succulent specific mix. Now it's not absolutely necessary, but I've been using the VeryPlants succulent mix. Just going to flip it around to the back here. And that's what my jade plants are in right now. So it says it's basically nearly impossible to overwater. Ingredients won't compact. So that's a problem that I'm having with my large jade right back here. It is in a cactus succulent mix, and the soil over time, it becomes rock hard. So that one is going to be needing to be repotted here, which will be in another video. So that's a good feature with the stone. It's yeah, there's a whole list of ingredients. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it prevents compaction. It is free of pest, disease, harsh chemicals. Also, it is organic, mineral, and pH balance. So this is a good mixture for cactus and succulents. I do have a discount code I'll leave down in the description of this video if you want to try out as well. But this is a nice, airy mixture, and it is extremely well draining. Basically, you water the plant, and the water flows right out the bottom. Here's another little jade plant. I'm just going to dump the rest of this can in the pot. You can see how fast draining it is, and it comes right out the bottom. So that's exactly what you want when you're looking for a soil mixture for these plants. And I can keep giving it water, and that doesn't mean it's overwatered. That's exactly what you want to see. Cute little plant. One way to tell if your plant is not getting enough light is when you see stretched out stems like this. So these internodes shouldn't be this long. Basically, it's reaching out for a light source. And then if you have a light meter, you can determine whether it is receiving enough light or not. Now, if it is not getting enough light or you see stretched out stems like this, just make sure that you slowly acclimate it to higher light. So just don't throw it in a south or west facing window because you're probably going to just absolutely scorch the plant. It's going to get leaf burn. So over the course of maybe like a couple weeks, just slowly push it towards higher light each day. That way it kind of transitions to that brighter light and you don't end up with one cooked, burnt plant. Probably one of the coolest features about a succulent when compared to other houseplants is that you can propagate by a single leaf. So what I did with this plant, just because when I bought it there was these 3 main stems, but all you need to do is, I'm just going to find a leaf that's lower in the stem. So I'm going to just twist this leaf off like that, and all you do is just place it in the soil, or just directly on the soil like that, and you can see at the end of this leaf there's a new growth point, and same with down here as well. You can see all those little bubbly leaves popping through just from the end of the leaf. So it does have enough moisture in the leaf to sustain new growth, and that's all I do is just pluck off a leaf, stick it right on top of the soil, and then I water the plant as I normally would. And you can see right down there as well, there is a new growth point. So that is a super cool feature about succulents, is you can propagate by single leaves. And the same thing for jade plants. All you do, just take off a leaf, put it in the soil like that, and just let it do its thing. So it'll pull off all the moisture and nutrients that it needs to produce new growth, and you'll get new roots and growth point from the end of the leaf. Now it's different when it comes to regular houseplants like a philodendron. You do need a node. So you can see right here, I made a cut along the stem, and it's activated these growth points at each node. But this is where you're going to get the growth from, whereas with a succulent you can pluck off a leaf, stick it in soil, and it'll produce an entirely new plant. So there's some little growth points right down there as well. So I think that is probably the coolest feature about succulents, is you can propagate just by a single leaf, as well as stem cuttings as well. You can put this right in soil, but it's quite satisfying to see a new plant come from a single leaf. I have a couple more things that I want to talk about. One of them being fertilizer. This is the Super Thrive Foliage Pro that I use for pretty much all of my houseplants. I know there is a cactus succulent specific fertilizer as well, but I use this one for pretty much all my houseplants. It's a liquid fertilizer. I just mix it up in some water. It is a 936 NPK value. So this is what I use, and I fertilize probably once a month. They're not super heavy feeders. Once a month when it's actively growing. Succulents and jade plants specifically are extremely prone to mealybugs. Now I do have some mealybugs on some of my cactus or cacti upstairs, as well as I have found them on my jade plants, and I'll show you the treatment here in a minute. But basically, if you see little white fuzzballs in the little cracks and crevices of your plant, then it's probably a mealybug. They look like little white fuzz. I just sprayed off the plant this morning. But you want to look under the leaves, in between leaves, that sort of thing. And if you see a mealybug, basically the treatment is you want to use isopropyl alcohol, 70%. I use a little misting or spray bottle, and then you can just spray off the leaves like that. When it's drying, just make sure it's not in any direct sunlight. For me, this method, I haven't damaged any of the leaves, but just maybe try one little area just to see how your plant responds. Do not use neem oil on succulents. I've heard it absolutely burns the leaves. The last thing I want to mention about my jade plant is they not only love light, but they also love heat. So probably in the next few weeks here, once the temperatures get a little bit warmer, I want to take these plants outside. So stay tuned for how to transition your indoor jade plant to the outdoors for the summer. It will explode in growth not only from, like I said, the higher light, but the heat. So stay tuned for that. Otherwise, I think that's going to be pretty much it for this video. If you have any comments or questions, please leave it down in the comment section. Thanks for watching all my videos. Take care, everyone. Bye.